I'm gonna ask Earl a question, but I want to be recording.
We're
Well, I know
live.
we're recording
We are live and we are recording. So
on YouTube, right?
yes, we are on
I
YouTube.
want to be. I want to be on the podcast when this happens.
Okay, yeah, we are live on YouTube now. So thank you guys so much for being here. My name, of course, is Seth, and welcome to our Somos Mas podcast channel here over on YouTube. If you are familiar with us, which I hope you are, you know that we are a podcast that talks about New Mexico United and the sports from around the world. And this is our new home on the web. Our instead of doing Twitch, we're over here on YouTube now. So thank you guys for being here. And we're going to get right into episode number 35 tonight. So stick with us, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome
35,
back.
That's half of what Jacob is.
35. You know what? We've been doing this for a year now. You know, did you
Yeah.
did you realize that?
Yeah.
It's been a year. Let me go back. I'll look at the date here real quick. I'll tell you the date that we
Seth
first
is
went
older
live.
than me. I just want to throw that out there,
Yeah.
just to make that point.
Man. So if I'm still like, let's see. 2020 Visions, our first full episode went live on, what date? It doesn't say. That's kind of a bummer, but it says a year. So yeah, we've been doing this for a year now. We've been doing this for a year. That's impressive. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Somos Mas, your official source. Blah. I'm gonna do that again. I'm gonna do that better. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Somos Mas. My name, of course, is Seth Bidoff, and this is episode number 35, part 1 of our show this week. And we've got a whole lot to get to. If you're familiar with the show, of course, you know we talk about New Mexico United and the biggest sports stories from around the world. And joining me, as we do each and every week, we have Jacob Terrell and Earl Nieto, and we are Somos Mas. Guys, I don't know about you guys. Normally we'd ask, we were in the habit of asking how you doing, how's your week been. I know that we've had a lot going on. I was just minutes ago trying to disassemble our dryer to figure out what was wrong with it, and but I don't think anything that we have done this week probably compares to how busy the news and the sports world has been. And before we get into all of that, I do want to ask you guys one burning question, and that is, do clubs, do soccer clubs specifically, need to look at different apparel makers when it comes to designing their kits or jerseys?
I don't know, Jacob. Can you answer that one? You're the only one that got the new kit, so.
I feel like this is teeing me up for either a rant or for me to back down on my words that I used here over the weekend. I'm going to answer the question by saying no. I typically love what most kit company or what most apparel companies are doing. When it comes to the new United kit, I am excited about it, much like Earl. I do really, really like it. I just feel like it's not unique whatsoever to New Mexico United, other than the fact that it has a New Mexico United patch and our awesome sponsors on the front. If you take that away, it just looks like a lot of Puma gear that is out there. So I get it. It's hard to make something that's unique for every club that you represent when you represent all these clubs from around the world. So I'm not going to bash them too hard, but I don't think we have the best clubs in the league, like a lot of people say. I think we have the best sponsors. I think if you look at Meow Wolf and Electric Playhouse and even Crane Shares, the logo as far as Crane Shares go, I think they look pretty good on a soccer kit. But as far as the kits themselves, the design of the kits themselves, they are the third one, especially this one that I'm wearing here, isn't the best third kit out there. And actually, I did a what you want to call it, a survey for the Beautiful Game Network about previews, and one of the questions on it was who my favorite kits were um, for the 2021 season so far, and I did not say New Mexico United. So yeah,
Now, before we get to Earl's answer, we do want to point out for those that aren't familiar with New Mexico United or our sponsors, Electric
Why
Playhouse.
aren't you?
Yeah, first of all, why aren't you? But secondly, Electric Playhouse and Meow Wolf are both local, which is something that's fairly unique among soccer kit sponsors. If you look at others, it's much larger companies or larger entities that aren't necessarily locally owned, like what we have. And Crane Shares, of course, I believe is a partner with one of Peter's ventures. I believe. I don't know the exact details of that. Yeah. So just it's a local tie, which I think is incredibly awesome, and it's something that the club has always tried to do. Now, in terms of this kit, I like the kit. I think it looks fantastic. I think it's a great coloring. We all kind of thought that the turquoise was coming. Now I think they're calling it what, electric turquoise or electric. Something I don't know. Yeah.
Electric turquoise.
And so I think it's a fantastic looking kit. Now, yes, the layout of it, the honeycomb design, is something that Puma does on other clubs' kits, and so I think a lot of people took issue with that and saying that the United kits weren't all that great. But I think, and Earl, correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think the big deal about the United kit, about the third kit here, is while last year we did have the third kit, we had the Snaggy kit, that was a kind of a one-off, or 2 years
Did
ago.
we wear that?
2 years ago, yeah, I should say. We did have that. That was a limited release, but it wasn't a true third kit. And Earl, like I said, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the thing about United is that all the work that goes into the reveal of it, the video the club put out, to showcase it and all that, and then the event they had down at Electric Playhouse, to where they actually sold tickets to it at different intervals. I think that's what sets United and this kit release apart from other clubs around the league.
So I will give it to the club for their hype parties that they have. So this latest one on Sunday, you had to choose between Jesus or a turquoise kit.
We know which way Jacob
went. I
went.
was sitting in church looking at turquoise kit. Yeah, Jacob, which one did you pick? Jesus or a kit? I think I have the answer.
I went to church and I got a kit, so they had them all the way into the afternoon. Our ticket was for 2, so I had plenty of time to go to church and then get over there. So I don't know what you guys are talking about.
So, anyways, back to what I was saying. I kind of like the way the club does it, where they make you pick and choose what you like more. In this case, it was Jesus or the club. But the video that they made and the hype video that they made for the release was freaking incredible. They included all the new signings, with the exception of Kalen, who's been there for 2 years now. But just the color of it all and the hyping of it throughout the week was incredible. Do I think that the ticket thing, where you bought tickets for each 30 minutes, was a good idea? No, it was not. Because then people like Jacob, who begged and pleaded for me and Seth to stay quiet until he saw his kit at 2:00.
That
I can tell you
like
now,
5
that
minutes,
was
dude.
virtually the most impossible 5 minutes I've had in my life. Because as soon as I saw it, I wanted to drop the freaking picture in the freaking chat in our group text, but because I promised you I'd be good that day.
You could have. I put our group message I put on Do Not Disturb, so it wouldn't have popped up.
Yeah, but the moment you look at your phone, you're just like 9,000 texts from me and Seth, and you're like, oh, what the hell are these guys talking about today? And then you're going to pull it up, and you're going to be pissed because me and Seth showed the picture, and then that's all we have to hear for the rest of Sunday is Jacob whining and complaining because we ruined his surprise.
First of all, you act like I don't look at my phone every 5 minutes, and it's 10,000 messages between you two anyways during the day. That's a daily basis. I don't know what you're talking about. Seth, it stopped recording.
Yes, it did. Huh. All right. That was weird.
So is this part 2?
That was a quick hour.
That was
All right.
a quick hour. Yeah. I don't know what happened. That was really
So
weird.
anyways, like I was saying,
Are we gonna start over? Or are we just
like I
gonna
was
go?
saying, no, that was the most impossible. That was the most impossible 5 minutes of my life. I'm hoping Seth can merge the two together. The most impossible 5 minutes of my life because, for one, I had to be good and not put a freaking group chat in the group chat because Jacob was trying
group
to
chat in the group
keep
chat,
surprise until 2 o'clock. As if he's not going to hop on Facebook and see the thousands of pictures that the club has already posted.
I didn't do that though. My wife was on Facebook, and I was laying next to her, and she scrolled past it, and I saw it. So I said, "Oh, cat's out of the bag. I guess I'll just hop on my Facebook and text you guys."
Which I had already shared it, so I hope you didn't look at my Facebook.
I did eventually, but it didn't matter at that point. I was still excited about it. Well, actually, you can ask my wife. You can ask my wife. The first time I saw it, I was like, "That's it?" And then it grew on me, but I'm still a little disappointed, even though I'm wearing one right now and I spent $85 on it.
So I am a little disappointed in it too. I mean, do I love the color? Yes. Do I think they could have did something more hypey about it? Yeah. Do I wish they would have did something more with New Mexico on it? Yeah, I wish they would have. But I guess you can only follow the templates that's on the computer. I was all for it as soon as I started throwing out hints it was going to be turquoise because that was my guess. Like, as soon as they put the turquoise picture, I figured, oh, it's freaking turquoise. So when I saw it on Sunday, I wasn't surprised, but this was an exact video of me when I saw the kit. My wife is sitting right next to me, pretending that much. Scroll up, I see it. And I was in church. So for those of you that can't see, I was a little spastic kid that had just saw like a purple crayon.
Why were you on your phone during church?
Listen. Don't ask tough questions. Jesus doesn't judge me either.
So I think I have two main problems with it. One is the lack of anything New Mexico other than the sponsor, which you can put on anything. I would have been happy with. I think I would have been happier with a turquoise kit with the 4 red stripes for the Zia symbol, like the regular jerseys do, like the regular kits do. How they have the four lines for the Zia symbol. I would have liked that incorporated somehow. And then my second problem with it, and probably my bigger problem with it, is it's more minty than turquoise. Like it should be a bluer turquoise, and that's they didn't nail the color. Had they nailed the color, I don't think I would care at all what was on it, or that it was a replica of all these other Puma kits. Had they nailed the color, that wouldn't have bothered me. But I'm wearing it right now, and looking in the camera, it looks bluer. But if I look down and look at my shoulder, it is definitely a greener or more green than it should be.
It's probably a lighting thing is why it's doing that for you. But I think to me it still has a very distinct New Mexican feel. Obviously, you know, the turquoise jewelry is very big out here. And so I think that's where they took that inspiration from. Now, I understand, you know, wanting something more. I understand wanting something like the Zia or something like that
but it's
to go along with it.
Seth.
I mean, I imagine they have they only have so many colors available to them. You know, I don't know how easy it is to make a turquoise shirt. You know, I don't know. I'm obviously not in the fashion industry, so I think I think maybe there was something along that line, but who knows? I mean, we've been asking for a third
So
kit.
I guess my
Go ahead.
my question is, what do we have to do? What do we have to do to get you one?
What do we have to do to get me one? Make it so I don't have bills. How about that? Can we do that?
Can we just buy you one? That'd probably be
Well,
easier.
Probably.
yeah. I mean, is this a possibility? Is it frowned upon? I guess is.
we'll get Earl's mom.
Yeah, I mean, thanks, Mom. You came in the clutch today, and I sent her a picture. She only had to pay $60 for a Venus flytrap.
There you go.
Meanwhile, I'm a
Honestly,
grown-ass man and bought my own.
aside from the Cardiff scarf, the only other piece of New Mexico United gear that I actually have is one of their this is the white T-shirt from the inaugural season that's signed by Santi. And so yeah, actually I won that from the club before I even started covering them. And by the time I went down and picked it up and stuff, I started writing, and they're like, oh, I talked to Lucas Cash for a while. He's, oh, this is completely off the record. Yeah, absolutely, dude, absolutely. Like, I'm not here in any official capacity right now. Like, I just want a T-shirt from you guys. But he one thing he did tell me is that Santi rarely signs his full name, but he signed it Santiago, which was really unusual apparently. So anyway, there you have it, guys. New Mexico United new kit. We've been asking for it. We've been begging for it. I think despite the criticisms of it, that folks are really happy with this kit.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like I'm being a negative Nancy, which I'm usually not, but I am just a little bit in this instant. But if you look at me, I'm wearing it. I still paid $85 for it. Which I didn't do
Man, that sucks.
I didn't do for one of the kits last year, even though I want to. So it's nice enough to get me to open my wallet for a shirt, which isn't easy to do. So I do like it. Do I feel like it could be better? Yes, but I still do like it.
All right, so let's get into the rest of our show here, guys. We texted a little bit today. We didn't really get too much into it. There's for a major topic that's going to come here in just a little while. But the first thing I want to get to tonight is it is draft week, ladies and gentlemen. NFL draft kicks off next Friday. I apologize. Next Friday night, next Thursday night, the 29th. So 1 week out from the draft, are there going to be any surprises in the first round? Are there going to be surprises for your team? I mean, I saw something today that said Bruce Arians.
I can tell you one thing.
That's that.
I didn't get a phone call.
You did not get that call from Roger Goodell saying, come on up to the podium?
Nope, I didn't get the invite.
Now, I was reading today that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers would not be against taking a quarterback in the first round. Jacob, do you think that's necessary? I mean, Tom Brady can't live forever, can he?
No, I think it would be a smart move if the right guy falls to them. But I also, it's Tom Brady, so we say he can't live forever, but then all he's done is play until he's 43 and won a Super Bowl. So who the hell knows with him? But no, I wouldn't be opposed to it, especially because we don't really have any major holes anywhere else that we have to fill. So if the right guy's there when they pick in the first round, then sure, go for it. But I think we see 4 quarterbacks off the board with the first 4 picks. So I don't think any of the top 5 will get to him.
So I think that's an interesting take right there. You think that the Atlanta Falcons are going to end up going quarterback there at number 4, or do you think they trade out of it?
I think they probably trade out of it. I think that other teams are kind of like me when they hear San Francisco talking up Mac Jones. They'll kind of see it when they'll believe it when they see it. But I think if Mac Jones is the pick at 3, and you have Justin Fields and Trey Lance still on the board, there's going to be people that want to move up. And it doesn't sound like Atlanta really wants a quarterback. So they can trade down to, say, Denver at, I think, 8 and maybe get an extra first round pick next year and still get somebody that's still really good, just not a quarterback. That's kind of what I think is going to happen.
Earl is the Dak Prescott replacement in this draft
Why would they replace him?
because he's terrible.
Well,
So
okay, well, calm down.
So here's my thing: is a Dak Prescott replacement in this draft? Well, yeah, the next Tom Brady could be in this draft. Dak Prescott got drafted in the 4th round. Tom Brady was like Mr. Irrelevant or some bullshit like that. So, yeah, the Dak Prescott replacement could be there. I mean, for a while there was Andy Dalton, who was the Dak Prescott replacement. Unfortunately, the Dallas Cowboys are super, super, super horrible at drafting.
I'm sorry.
No, I think-
I want to make sure I heard this correctly. You said that Andy Dalton is the replacement for Dak Prescott?
No, he said he was.
Was. Okay.
He was
Literally, he replaced Dak Prescott. But they just signed Dak Prescott to like a bazillion-dollar contract. For why, I don't know, but they did. So I think they go cornerback here, and that's my.
I see them looking. So here's just my wish list for Dallas is obviously cornerback. The best corner out there right now is Patrick Surtain. I do see him falling to number 10. He could fall to 10. If Patrick Surtain is not out there, I think we start looking elsewhere, such as tight end with Pitts from Florida. That's another super, super safe pick to go with. And I would not be opposed to seeing Pitts. I would love to see either Patrick Surtain or Pitts in Dallas. I would not be upset about that. But like I've said, Dallas is super stupid when it comes to drafting, and you'll pick CeeDee Lamb over freaking whoever else went number 11 and had a freaking incredible year.
If Kyle Pitts is there at 10, everybody that drafted before you needs to be fired. Well, okay, not everybody, but from like 5 to 10 needs to be fired because that dude's a freak.
Yeah, and that's who I would love to see Dallas draft. Is either Kyle Pitts or Patrick Surtain.
Patrick Surtain should be there, and that's probably who you guys get. Kyle Pitts will not be there.
Yeah, I think that's a safe bet there to say that Kyle Pitts won't still be there at 10. Looking at NFL.com and the draft needs of some of these different teams, you know, I don't necessarily see where a tight end fits into these teams as far as as far as an actual need of theirs. But I think he makes any offense that he goes to significantly better. And you know, there's a number of teams that could use a good tight end. I mean, the Falcons especially could use a tight end. I don't think they're going to draft Pitts there at number 4. I think they would be better off using that pick, you know, on the defensive side, you know, or maybe trading back a little bit. I know there's talk about them making a massive trade with the Patriots and picking up like first round pick this year, second round pick this year, first round pick next year, first round pick in 2024, and maybe bringing in a cornerback as well from the Patriots. You know, just someone, you know, theorizing this. I mean, probably not going to happen, but you know, there's definitely teams out there that could improve significantly here in the first round. But I think if you don't take a quarterback this year for some of these teams, then, or at least if you're not in the top 10, you may as well just not draft a quarterback this year. And if you ask me, if you look at the talent that's out there, I mean, you've got the top 4 or 5, and that's it. Beyond those guys, who else is there really out there this year that could make an impact at an NFL level?
Well, you say that, but then we look at who's the best quarterback in the league right now.
Aaron Rodgers.
Drafted 17th, I think. Who's the second best quarterback in the league right now?
Look, we already know where you're going with this one. We already know.
Pat Mahomes.
No, I'm just saying. If you look at Rodgers, you look at Mahomes, you look at Brady, you look at Roethlisberger, which I know he's past his prime, but like none of these guys were even top 5. Sure, you have the Peyton Mannings, the Andrew Lucks, the Phillip Rivers, the Eli Mannings, the Baker Mayfields, to throw Earl a bone, that were drafted inside the top 5. But then after that, you don't have anybody in the top 5. So it's the 5 quarterbacks that everybody's talking about this year. It's no guarantee that that's the best quarterback to come out of this class.
I can't disagree with you there on that point. You never know what talent is actually going to be there or what the ceilings of some of these players are going to be. But if you look at all of the data that's come out on these players that are in the draft this year, if you look at that top 5, the elite guys this year, judging just by what they did at a collegiate level, there's a significant drop-off in the quality of player between those top 5 guys and the rest of them, if you ask me. And that's why I think if you're a team like the Falcons, if you don't take a quarterback here in the first round this year, you're better off waiting until next year or maybe even the year after, because you still have Matt Ryan, who is still playing at a high level. Or look at some other teams too. I mean, I'm not a Dak fan, but I think Dak is a serviceable quarterback, and he will get you, a 8-8 record for the next couple years. A 9-7 record.
I love 8-8. No, that's impossible. 8-8 is impossible now.
Okay, 8-1. How about that?
Yeah.
I think you can be moderately successful with guys like that, and there are a number of different teams around the leagues, and so unless you're willing to make that jump up into the top 4, 5, 6 in the draft order, maybe you are just better waiting.
To me, there's 2 prospects in this draft, quarterback wise, that I agree with your whole sentiment on. And I think Lawrence is far and away the best prospect in this draft at the quarterback position. Now, the second one, this is what, as somebody who hates Atlanta with a passion and has them in their division, you always want to do what the other team doesn't want you to do. So like they talk about it in football, like on 4th and 1, you should base that decision off of what the other team doesn't want you to do. The other team doesn't want you to go for it most of the time, so you should go for it most of the time. So what I don't want Atlanta to do is I don't want Atlanta to draft Justin Fields.
I don't want Atlanta to draft Justin Fields.
But see, you're coming at it from a different point of view than I am.
Yes.
I don't want it because I don't want to play him twice a year for the foreseeable future after Matt Ryan falls off a cliff. Because I think Justin Fields is going to be fantastic. I think he's going to be the second best prospect in this draft class. And I don't understand why he's even falling to 4 in the first place.
Yeah, I can't explain. I think he is top 2 in the terms of quarterbacks who have declared for this draft, and let's take a look at some of the other quarterbacks that are out there right now. So Earl, I mean, looking at some of the other guys, obviously, we're all basically in agreement that the top 5, Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, and Mac Jones, top 5 QBs in this draft. And from there, you've got guys like, Kellen Mond, Kyle Trask from Florida. You've got Jamie Newman from UGA. You've got Ian Book from Notre Dame. Do you see any of these guys supplanting any of the current NFL starters?
I think Kyle Trask could. Outside of the top 5, so outside of obviously Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, Mac Jones, Kyle Trask is probably the best, safest bet to upend anyone, such as Dak Prescott. And I'm a Cowboys fan, and I would say if Kyle Trask were to show up Dak Prescott, I would say that they would go with Kyle Trask in the starting position. That's just one of my scenarios. Trying to look at who else is out there.
To me, I see Trask as Tim Tebow 1.5. Similar build. I think he's a little bit better athletically than Tebow was, but I don't think that he necessarily has it for the NFL. I don't necessarily see him being successful at that level. And that's why I have a hard time with some of these guys, who went to the bigger name schools, like Ian Book over at Notre Dame. I thought Ian Book looked good at times, but in that Notre Dame offense, they did not do well for large portions of games at times. And so if you have a quarterback that can't manage at the highest level of the NCAA, I just don't see how they translate to an NFL level of play.
See, but the NFL is so different than NCAA. So obviously the offenses are completely different. So Trevor Lawrence, who right now is sitting on the NFL pedestal right now, he's the golden boy. He's guaranteed pretty much to be number one. He can choke and possibly tear an ACL, and there goes his season. Knock on wood. I would hate for that to happen to him like it happened to Joe Burrow. I think if Joe Burrow were to have went to a better team than the Bengals, he would have had a better rookie year. He did ask for he did ask for a line, and instead he got a brand new clothing line because they dropped New Jersey this week, which looks the exact same as last year's. Jacob, you could smile, you son of a bitch.
You stole it off of Facebook. I know you did. I saw it already. So I knew it was coming.
Actually, it was on Twitter, and I didn't even steal it. It was told to me this morning because I didn't see it until I was told. Anyways, I think that any prospect can have a completely different season than what they were projected.
I think that trying to look at these late round quarterbacks, these non-top 5 guys, I think that my personal opinion is that it's Fields and Lawrence and then a bunch of guys. That doesn't mean that one of these guys can't pop. Maybe it's Zach Wilson. Maybe it's the Florida guy. Maybe it's the Georgia guy. I don't know. Like I said, that there's not Tom Brady 6th round, Russell Wilson 2nd round, Aaron Rodgers 17th pick, Pat Mahomes 10th pick. Like it you don't really know. And if you look at the top 5 quarterbacks drafted in the last 7 years, it's not great, guys. Like it's not aside from Mahomes, you're looking at Jameis Winston, Marcus Mariota, Ryan Tannehill, Jared Goff, Baker Mayfield.
Don't you
None of these guys
disrespect
are.
Earl's God like that.
I know. I was waiting for him to react, but he didn't. None of these guys are like, oh my gosh, I'm so scared to go up against Carson Wentz. Um, so the only thing I will say is that Lawrence, by all accounts, is a can't miss prospect. He is Peyton Manning. He is Andrew Luck. So I kind of set him to the side. I think he's going to be good no matter what happens. And then I personally hold Fields in that, not quite that tier, but close. Fields reminds me of Lamar Jackson and Russell Wilson, not necessarily playing style, but they're all three black quarterbacks who performed very well at a high level in college, but for some reason fell down the draft line. And in Lamar's case, I think he was the last pick of the first round, and Wilson fell into the second round, and for no real reason. I look back at, especially at Russell Wilson, and was screaming for somebody to take him in the first round. I was screaming for the Bucks to take him in the first round. I was screaming for the Bucks to trade up and get him in the second round. But he just kept falling, and I don't know why. So I would not be surprised if Fields has that same kind of thing where he falls and then all of a sudden he's the best quarterback in the class. But outside of those two, I'm not qualified to try to figure out who is going to pop after that, or if somebody can, because quarterbacks in the NFL, it's a crapshoot.
Yeah, there have been plenty of quarterbacks in recent history that have proven that. And given the way that the league has gone over the past, I'd say decade or so, to where the passing game is so much more prevalent than it used to be, it's a wonder why more college systems aren't bringing in players and molding them into more of an NFL style offense and getting them ready for that pro level. And then the guys that do go in, a lot of them tend to be flops. And with the way that the NFL has been going, we've seen less importance on the run game. So I guess my next question for you guys is, how far do we get into this year's draft before we see a running back?
I think we see somebody in the first round, yeah. Somebody at the back end of the first round is going to pick either Najee Harris or Travis Etienne, just because they can, I guess. I don't know why they would, but we'll see it. I don't know if we'll ever see a Leonard Fournette top 10 pick again, but we'll definitely see first round guys go still.
Earl, outside of the quarterbacks we've talked about and, the Najee Harris and Travis Etienne, is there anyone else in this draft that stands out to you as someone that could be an absolute difference maker for whoever they get drafted by?
Devontae Harris. Outside of Kyle Pitts.
Devontae Smith?
Is it Devontae Smith? What did I say, Harris?
You did say Harris, yeah.
I meant Smith. From Alabama.
Yeah, okay.
Wide receiver. Yeah, I think Devontae Smith is outside of the quarterback class of Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence, and the running back class of Najee Harris, and obviously the tight end of Kyle Pitts. It is going to be Devontae Harris. Devontae Harris has the
Smith.
Devontae Smith. I don't know why I keep calling him Harris. Devontae Smith has the mindset, and he reminds me kind of a Tyreek Hill, where it was speed, but then also the ball catching ability of Des Bryant in his prime.
All right, Jacob, who's yours?
I think if you're looking at skill positions, it's really kind of a stacked draft at wide receiver. Like Earl mentioned Devontae Smith, but then you have a teammate of his in Jalen Waddle, who people say could be better than Devontae. Then right there across the bayou, they've got Jamar Chase at LSU. And then you have other guys that I'm not. Those are kind of the top three, along with Kyle Pitts in the top 10 that'll kind of stand out. You have a couple. You have a wide receiver from Minnesota named Rashad Bateman, who a lot of people are high on because of where he's projected to go in the draft. I don't think they think he's going to be nearly as good as those other guys, but I think he could be better value at a later round or at a later pick than in the top 10. But with all that said, it's Kyle Pitts, and it's not close as far as who my biggest difference maker will be outside of the quarterback position in the skill positions. I think Penei Sewell has a chance to be a difference-making tackle. Like if he went somewhere like Cincinnati to protect Burrow, and then they could pick up some wide receivers later in the draft, I think that would be huge for them. But they'll probably go wide receiver first just because it's the Bengals, and they're okay with Burrow running for his life. Even though he has a stud wide receiver to throw to, that's all they'll care about.
For me, I think it's going to be on the defensive side of the ball, specifically in the secondary. Look at a bunch of the cornerbacks that are out there. You know, Asante Samuel Jr. is out there. You've got J.C. Horn. You've got a number of different guys who can sign and make a real difference no matter where they're at. And you know, again, we talked about just a few minutes ago. Given the state of the league, how pass heavy the league is, you need a high quality cornerback. You know, at least two of them to really make an impact on an outcome of the game most times. Sure, your defensive ends are great for rushers. You got your defensive tackles who you're going to want to have, you know, someone in there to get some pressure on. But really, it's going to come down to those cornerbacks and those safeties. And I think there's a lot of guys out there that may be a little bit farther down the list here. Maybe Shakur Brown from Michigan State. I think he's another fantastic talent that could be out there. Maybe, you know, somewhere. I think he's probably going to fall, you know, late first round, early second round. And if he makes it to the second round, I think he's going to be an absolute steal. So, looking at the draft as a whole, you know, a lot of stuff is made over the past few years over, you know, how many of each position get drafted in the first round, or offensive player versus defensive player. What do you think we see more of in the first round? Defensive players or offensive players?
Sorry, I have a truck outside my window that I'm trying to figure out what the heck's going on. So I'm going to step outside. I'll let Earl answer this for now.
Okay.
Well, actually, I'll go ahead and say offensive players because it's pretty obvious to me. But go ahead, Earl.
So I kind of broke up. What was the question again?
Looking at the draft as a whole, specifically the first round, what do you think we see more drafted in the first round? Offensive players or defensive players?
Offensive. So the reason why I say offensive, instead of just like throwing out something and running with it, I say offensive because you're looking at once in a lifetime quarterback in Trevor Lawrence. You're looking at that once in a lifetime runner up in Justin Fields. Then you have the star Kyle Pitts. I say offensive because there's so many options that you can go with, whether it's offensive line, wide receiver, or even tight end just to stay out of the quarterback, running back spell. There's just so many out there that it outnumbers the defensive skill.
I look at it this way. I think you're going to have 5 quarterbacks. I think that's almost a lock. It's almost a guarantee. You're going to have probably 5 wide receivers. So now we're already at 10. You're going to have a tight end. That's 11. Probably going to have a running back. That's 12. And then you're probably going to have like 6 or 7 offensive linemen. So 6. That puts you at 18. That's more than half. So to me, I'd be shocked if more defensive players go.
See, I have to disagree. I think outside of those top, 10, 11 guys, that you could, run across the different positions as far as the offensive side of the ball, I think you're going to see a lot more teams stock up on the defensive side here, especially early on, because there's a ton of talent out there on the defensive side. And with offenses continuing to get better and better every year, number one, with the rule changes, number two, with the quality of players on the field, we saw tons of injuries over the past couple of years. I think defensive is where a lot of teams are going to go. A lot of teams are probably going to feel okay, if not great about their skill players on the offensive side, and they're going to try to wait a little bit to get before they find their backups or players of the future there. I think there's a lot of teams that could just look at it and say, all right, you know what, we've got if you look at Atlanta, for example, you've got Julio, you've got good running backs, you've got Matt Ryan, you've got multiple wide receivers out there, you've got a pretty good O-line. So I mean, really, and I think there's a lot of teams, like I said, a lot of teams that are going to be in a similar position.
Last year?
No, we're a good team. We're just
Right.
we've had injuries, lots and lots of injuries, and that's been one of our biggest issues over the past couple of years.
So the Falcons have 49,000-year-old Matt Ryan. They have 49,000-and-a-half-year-old Julio Jones. Who else do they have?
The one spot that I see Atlanta being set on the offensive side of the ball is probably wide receiver. But you could use Kyle Pitts. You could use Sewell or Slater, the top 2 tackles. You could use a quarterback, frankly. I don't know. It's almost a guarantee that 5 quarterbacks and at least 4 wide receivers go. That already puts you at 9. So you just need 6 more or 7 more people on the offensive side of the ball. I think that happens.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past. I mean, anything can happen. And for future reference, I am actually older than both Matt Ryan and Julio Jones. So, Matt Ryan is 35 and Julio is 32. So,
it's different in football.
Julio's 32 years old.
Julio's only 32. Yeah.
I was certain he was at least 40.
No.
No.
I knew he wasn't that old. But
Yeah, no, he was drafted after Matt.
He's just been around a long time.
Yeah. But, no, I mean, Matt is not old by quarterback standards. Obviously look at Tom Brady pushing the limits up there, into the geriatric side of things. So.
Did you really just compare Matt Ryan to Tom Brady?
No, I'm not comparing him to Tom Brady. I'm saying, you've got, Matt Ryan, who is not old by any means in terms of the NFL. And then, of course, you have Tom Brady, who is pushing the geriatric side.
Wonder.
Yeah.
He's like an ageless wonder. Matt Ryan is not.
One good shot to his knees and Tom Brady would be done. So,
how dare you put that juju on my team?
It is what it is. I don't like putting juju on anybody's team, but if I could wish it on anybody, it would be Tom Brady, of course. So, and the New York Yankees.
So if I were to put juju on any team, it would be to the Cowboys. because Juju Smith-Schuster.
There you go. That's a good
Wow.
pull right there. Yeah.
Wow.
I'll allow it. I'll allow
Impressive.
it. Yeah. So yeah, I think that's gonna be it.
I'll see myself out.
I think that's gonna be it for our draft talk. I wanted to get that in there because of when we record, we likely wouldn't have the episode out before the draft happens next week, and I just want to get your guys' thoughts on that. And the other like major sporting news that came out this week was there were 12. Yes.
Hold on, Seth. Hold on. Earl, do you know what ESL stands for?
Esports League.
No.
European Sports League.
You're closer. You got.
European Super League. That's what it fucking is.
There you
we
go. Yes.
You got there. You got there.
The European
it's
Super
not-
League.
I don't even know why you're racking my brain on this. It's not even gonna freaking happen. As you saw today, it freaking collapsed. It's not gonna happen. I'm not gonna waste my time on it. Just like Jacob kicked his feet up for WrestleMania talk, I will kick my feet up for this one.
Hey, I was engaged in the WrestleMania talk. I took over that segment just so that I would be engaged.
Oh, I will engage myself, but don't expect me to have anything positive to say about this Extreme Soccer League or whatever the hell they want to call it.
Extreme Soccer, that would be fun to watch. I would enjoy watching that.
For
My
whatever
bad.
reason, what popped into my head.
I meant
What popped in your
Elite
head?
Soccer League.
What popped into my head when you said extreme was like an XFL, but for soccer, and that could get ugly real fast.
That would be really interesting.
So, can we say that Phoenix is like the WWE of the USL? Because they're always scripting their falls.
Are you saying that the WWE is fake, girl?
No, I did not say that. I said they scripted their falls.
They might have over exaggerated a shot to the leg.
Exactly, they're showing entertainment.
Ah, okay, entertainment. That's what it is. That's what it is in wrestling. I don't think that's what Phoenix is.
Yeah, you're right. I'll stop. Like I said, I'll see myself out.
So yeah, the ESL was announced on Sunday. For those of you that have been living under a rock for the past 48 hours, the European Super League is a proposed soccer league for 20 eventually 20 clubs in Europe. There were 6 who had agreed to join from the Premier League, 6 others from La Liga and from Serie A, who had all decided that they're going to form their own league to kind of go up against the Champions League, and the 12 to 15 founding members that were going to be announced would be granted permanent status in this league, with 5 other teams coming in on a rotating basis or on a promotion relegation basis. Now, they didn't really put out details as far as how that was going to work or what clubs were going to be considered. So among those clubs, of course, we talk a lot about the Premier League here. Manchester City, Manchester United, Arsenal, Liverpool, Tottenham, and Chelsea had all signed on to this league, as well as it was Real Madrid, Barcelona, Juventus, and I was trying to find a list of all the others here. But this has been talked about in the past, and in response to that, FIFA came out and said that any club participating in this, those players would be banned from domestic competition. They would be banned from international competition, including Club World Cups, domestic competitions again, Champions League, and of course the World Cup. And the outrage over this has just been absolutely tremendous. Again, unless you've been living under a rock, you know what's been going on. Supporters were protesting outside of stadiums in Europe, over in England especially. The outcry on social media from former players, current players, and just the complete denunciation of this by entire leagues. Basically, the Premier League came out and was against it. FIFA was against it. UEFA was against it. Many of the Serie A squads were against it. Bundesliga came out and said, yeah, none of us are doing it. And in the aftermath of this, all 6 Premier League teams have decided to withdraw from the European Super League. Jacob, what was your first thought when the ESL was announced?
I don't think I had one, if I'm being honest. Like, I understood that it was part of, I guess it goes back to I had heard rumbles of this a year ago, probably, maybe. So when I first saw the things posting up on social media, I was like, yeah, this isn't new. They've been talking about this for a while. I didn't realize that it was official, quote unquote. So that kind of, I just brushed it under the rug for a little while. Then when it became official, or I noticed that it was more official, kind of just thought, okay, yeah, more soccer, whatever. I didn't fully dig into the ramifications of the finances, and why teams were doing this and everything. Then once people started saying how they were against it, I dug a little deeper, realized what was going on, said, okay, yeah, that's stupid. But I barely had time to look into it, and then Chelsea started to withdraw. Man City started to withdraw. Next thing you know, all of the Premier League teams are out. But I do got to give credit to the Bundesliga and kind of push people to support that league a little bit more, because 1, it's incredible soccer. 2, they didn't even try to participate in this thing. They said, nah, we're good. We have a good thing going. We don't want to mess it up. And the owners didn't get too greedy. And it worked out the best there for any club. I think out of all the teams coming out, Bundesliga looks the best out of this whole ordeal, because they didn't even get tied up in it. They were just like, yeah, nah, go do your own thing, Premier League, idiots. So I've already been watching quite a bit of Bundesliga, but I will definitely continue to watch more and more of it. And when your Premier League team sucks, it's pretty easy to just watch Bundesliga, because what else am I going to do? Watch Tottenham and want to throw something on my TV?
Hashtag Jose out.
Yeah, we're not even going to talk about that, because that's been coming for a long time. So,
but yeah, no, it was one of those things that, again, there have been rumors about this for years. Lots of rumblings about it. They finally announced it, and the backlash was immediate about this. And you talked about the financial ramifications for this league, what was going to happen. This league was going to be privately financed, and each club was going to be given somewhere in the neighborhood of $300 to $400 million a year to be a part of this. Now,
but they didn't have to share.
Yes,
everybody else.
Yeah, they didn't have to share with anybody else. They could, do their own thing, whatever. And so you'd have, in some cases, arguably some of the best clubs in the world playing each other, for a full, 40 match schedule or whatever it would have been. Now, as of right now, the ESL is still an idea. There's still the potential there. Now, I don't think they're going to be able to do anything with just 6 teams. But, you had major teams from around the world and major leagues come out. Ajax said they were never invited. Ajax has been one of the premier league clubs in the world for the past few decades, if not longer. You got leagues like, and you said you felt like the Bundesliga came out looking best out of this. Honestly, I feel like USL League One came out and they made a pretty strong statement about it and said they weren't going to be joining the European Super League, which I think was fantastic to hear here in the States, that League One, USL League One was not going anywhere. And obviously it's in jest, and there were some people who went back, like I think it was Aston Villa or Leeds. They went back and they adjusted the 2018-2019 Premier League table. No, it was Wolves. I'm sorry. It was Wolves. They went back and adjusted the 2018-2019 table. And if you remove those 6 squads, the Premier League squads who were supposedly going to leave, then the Wolves were like, oh yeah, we're the 2018-2019 champions. And so then I guess other clubs started to do this, and yeah, it was really interesting. And if you look at it this year, like you take those clubs out, then you've got Everton, Villa, at the top of the table, and Leicester at the top of the table. Yeah. So people doing all kinds of stuff, and then there were some pretty strong statements that came out against it. And Earl, I know you said you haven't looked into it too much, but one comparison about this ESL that was made was that it was very similar to the format of MLS, and then a lot of people were saying that if you're a supporter of MLS, then there's no reason that you wouldn't support this new ESL. Or the opposite that was being said was that if you didn't support the ESL, how are you a fan or how are you a supporter of MLS clubs? Do you think that's a fair assumption to say that you have to support both of them? Or if you don't support the one, you can't support MLS?
No. So I hadn't looked into it, and thank God that you guys had, because otherwise I'd be sitting here like an idiot. So no, so I like MLS because it gives room for younger players to grow. Obviously, like with the MLS two teams, obviously with the USL being local and the ability to move up from USL to MLS, that's always the option. From what it sounds like is the ESL teams that have already signed on, such as the elite teams, they never have up and coming stars that have a chance to shine. I mean, you're always under the shadow of Ronaldo or Messi or whoever the hell is in that league now. You never have a chance to make your own name, where the MLS you can. I mean, you have certain stars in MLS like Carlos Vela, Joseph Martinez. So if you go, you have to look deep into each club to find a star. Unless you know like Carlos Vela, or Joseph Martinez, and those names. With the ESL, I mean, it comes right off the bat, right off hand. You have, and I have to look at the clubs in there, but obviously Ronaldo, Messi, yeah. I don't even know which teams are left in there. You said 6. I don't know which teams are left in there to.
Yeah, Juventus, Real Madrid, Barcelona. Yeah, it's basically started falling apart, and we don't know exactly what's going to happen with this. We don't know if they're going to try to rebuild, but yeah, it's just it was absolutely incredible how fast this thing came up and how quickly it seemed to have fallen apart. Like, this is worse than like the AAF or XFL in terms of turnaround time from inception to like being defunct. Jacob, for you, do you think the closed system like MLS is here? I mean, obviously clubs can't go to MLS, but you buy your way in. Given the history of football in Europe, do you think the closed system would have ever worked over there?
No, because that's never been that way. The only reason why it's like that in America is because when MLS became what it is like now, there's not a farm system, for an Americanized term there, of other clubs that can compete. It's just not, the sport's not popular enough here. And if it was, and it seems to be gaining popularity now, so it might get there. Maybe we see a USL league at least with ProWell. I don't know. But no, the closed system would never work over there because you would have to change thousands and thousands and thousands of people's minds and ways of doing things, and that's just not going to work. Which is why it might never work here, because people just aren't used to it. But as far as the Super League goes, I don't understand the comparisons between that in MLS other than you buy your way in. It's not a you're talking about the best clubs of the world for decades now, aside from Tottenham and Arsenal, um, being in a league together. Which honestly, if you just say that, you're like, yeah, sign me up for Liverpool versus Barcelona on a Wednesday night for no real reason. Like as just a soccer fan, I'd like to see that. Why not? But when it comes to money and everything like that, that's when you get into issues. And so I do think that the Super League something will happen there, whether it's a small tournament in the preseason or something along those lines. I think we see something. It's just not going to be what they thought it was going to be when they announced it this weekend.
So I think the comparison is more, we talk about the closed system, and I mean, really, how fair is it for these? How fair would it have been for these 12 to 15 founding members to be static members, getting $300 to $400 million a season, or a year basically, to bring in whoever they want? I mean, this is more than most clubs probably spend 100 to 150 million if you're at the Premier League level or the Bundesliga level in any given transfer window or an entire season. But these guys are getting 2 to 3 times that amount, and they're never going to fall out of this league. For the clubs that would have been relegated or relegated into it, you got 5 teams is what they were talking about. I mean, how does that work? How do you determine who gets into that? And if you look at the recent results for these clubs, I mean, can you honestly say that AC Milan or Inter Milan or Tottenham, like you mentioned, or Arsenal, do you think that they should be in there based on merit, on sporting merit alone?
Yeah, no. But like we said, it's basically done already. It's not going to happen now. So who cares if we thought Tottenham should be in there or Arsenal or any of these other clubs? They had it all comes down to money. So as far as money is concerned, yeah, they should be in there because they're the top payers in the country over there. But thankfully, it crashed and burned as soon as it got started. And we at least prolonged having to talk about it again for a while.
Yeah, it definitely seems like the backlash, again, the social media outcry, the fans going in and protesting in person definitely had an impact on this. Do you think it was more the fans, Earl? Do you think it's more the fans' reactions or the reactions from the football associations and leagues from around the world denouncing this that caused the Premier League clubs to back away?
I think it was a little of both. Obviously, clubs like to listen to their fans. At least I would hope so. So the fans obviously complaining about it had some kind of push on it. But I think the biggest part was whenever FIFA and UEFA said, "Hey, look, you guys want to play over there? Don't come over here. We don't want you." So that was I think that was the start of the fire, and pretty much now the stars are saying, "Hey, look, forget that. We like playing World Cup. We like playing against America. We like playing against Germany and teams like that. Why are we going to be punished because our owners want to be in this? We just want to play soccer."
Well, of course, I like playing America because they always beat us.
Well, yeah, but that's beyond the point. Eventually, we'll be good. But I think that was kind of the start, was the players saying, "Hey, look, we like playing these other clubs, and if you're gonna ban us because we're playing in a league that our owners and our board members want to be in, look, we just want to play the freaking game. We just want to kick a ball towards each other and have fun with it."
Yeah, I get that, and there were reports coming out that saying a number of Chelsea players went to the board and said, "Look, we're not on board with this. We don't like this." And around the league, more and more players started to speak out against it. As things developed, and now we're at a point where we are now. Who knows if this ESL will find some more members, or the way it looks to me is it's just going to fall apart. But I think UEFA and FIFA handled it pretty darn well. It may have been a little heavy-handed, but in order to...
So here's how I see it now. This is just my foreshadow, possibly a spoiler. I see the European Super League crashing and not happening because you reached into one of the top leagues in the world, in the Premier League, and they backed out. What other league are you honestly going to look into? Bundesliga's already said no. Premier League is essentially, without actually saying no, said no. There's not many elite clubs out there that are going to sign up. Maybe Ajax signs on to be the 7th team, but now you have 7 teams instead of the 12 that you had. There's not many clubs that are going to sign on and be able to compete with Barcelona, Juventus, and teams like that. So I don't see it happening only because there's not many teams out there that's going to want to sign up to get their butts kicked by Ronaldo every other week.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment of that. I don't see anyone really wanting to sign on for that. Like you said, it's really a matter of the haves and the have-nots, and you don't want to be a have-not saying, "Oh yeah, sure, we'll go and attempt this," because what purpose or what benefit does it give you if you go in there, get your asses kicked, and not really go anywhere with it? So I completely understand that point of view, and all these changes and stuff in the ESL brought about another announcement from UEFA, and this is actually backed by the ECA and FIFA, and they are making changes to the Champions League format. They are expanding from 32 to 36 clubs, and there will be 10 group stage games against. It says every club will now be guaranteed a minimum of 10 league stage games against 10 different opponents, 5 home games, 5 away, rather than the previous 6 matches against 3 teams, playing on a home and away basis. Top 8 sides in the league will qualify automatically for the knockout stage, and 9th through 24th will compete in a 2-legged playoff to secure their path to the final 16. Now, I think this is interesting. This to me reminds me of the NCAA tournament expanding from 64 to 68 teams, and or even the college football playoff expanding a little bit there. I think this is exciting. It gives more clubs an opportunity to go to a European championship or a European level tournament, and I think this is going to work out far better than the ESL ever would have. Jacob, what's your take on the changes to the Champions League? You are muted, sir.
You might want to check your mic. You're on mute. Nope.
Sorry.
There you go.
I'm back.
Damn it.
Seeing as I just found out about it just now, you're getting my off-the-cuff take here, and yeah, it sounds great. I don't know why it took a Super League to make these changes, but hey, whatever. But personally, I don't know if the Champions League was broken in the first place. I think it is the tournament that literally every club wants to win and wants to be in. It is, aside from winning the Premier League, the top 4 spots get you into the Champions League, which is basically the playoffs, like for American leagues over here. You're trying to get into that. That's what you aspire to be. So it's already what people want to be in. It's already what teams like Tottenham are fighting for 4th place for in the first place. So it already is. It's already up here when the Super League would have probably been a little step lower, in my opinion, just because it doesn't mean as much. It doesn't have the history.
Wait, wait,
Go
wait,
ahead.
wait, wait.
Go ahead.
And,
Go ahead. Go ahead with your snarky remark, Earl. Go ahead.
The Spurs are fighting for fourth place.
Kind of. They're like right.
And
It's possible.
in what, the AYSO Playground League?
To quote my favorite basketball player, anything is possible. Kevin Garnett. Yeah. So
To quote my favorite basketball player, no, 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 no.
nice.
Oh, that's great. Dikembe Mutombo, of course, Atlanta Hawk, long time Atlanta Hawk. I love that commercial. I hate that the sprinkles one is gone. The one with tag team. I hate that one isn't really showing anymore. But I love me some Dikembe Mutombo. But yeah, I mean, Champions League is always fun to watch. There's always some good teams. I think expanding that format is going to be fantastic. So before we close out the first half of our show here, you guys have any final thoughts on ESL, NFL Draft, or Champions League?
No.
All right, well, that's going to do it for part 1 of episode 35 this week. Thank you, everyone, for listening. I appreciate each and every one of you being here. And stay tuned. Later this week, we're going to have part 2, which we're going to record right now. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Somos Mas. My name, of course, is Seth. If you've been with us here on YouTube all night long, you know that we are recording episode 35 this week. We are recording it in 2 parts. In our first part, which came out earlier this week, we talked about the NFL Draft, which will be happening next week. We talked about the European Super League and the changes to the UEFA Champions League. If you're joining us here now for hour number 2 of our show, we are going to sit here and we're going to talk some New Mexico United. We're going to talk USL Championship. And guys, so much to get to. We did our burning question at the beginning of the last episode, and we talked about the New Mexico United kit. And if you missed that, please go check it out. Jacob and Earl are, of course, here with me this week, and a lot of news came out this week. First and foremost, one thing to get to: the USL Championship did announce their playoff format this year for this season, and if I remember it correctly, I don't have it pulled up. The top 4 teams in each division will go to the playoffs, and from there it's going to be rather interesting. I think we're going to have some interesting playoff pairings there. I think we kind of expected this one based on how their tables are set up on their website. Jacob, did this surprise you at all?
A little bit. Not so much the 4 top teams from each conference. That didn't necessarily surprise me. I thought there might be a chance for a 4-5 matchup play-in game, because if you remember the first year that we existed, there was a quote play-in round where 7 faced 10 and 8 faced 9. So I thought they might do something like that with the 4 and 5s in each group, but wasn't sure if that was going to happen or not. And with it not happening, the top 4 pretty chalk. I think we all expected that. What is kind of surprising to me, which I guess now thinking back it shouldn't be, is that I thought they might do a mountain side of the bracket and then a Pacific side of the bracket for the West, and then a central side and a Atlantic side for the East, and then not have the 2 conferences play each other in the playoffs until the championship game. I think I had that in my head because that's how hockey is doing it this year. So that's kind of what I was leaning to. But if you look at last year, there were 4 divisions in each one, and they kind of mixed it up. So the way it stands now, the winner of the mountain will face the 4th place team in the Pacific. 2nd place in the mountain will face the 3rd place team in the Pacific. 1st place in Pacific, 4th place mountain. You get the gist. If you're in 1st or 2nd in your group or division, you will host the first round no matter what the point totals are. So even in a world where, say, El Paso wins 2nd place for the mountain, even if they have less points than the 4th or 3rd place in the Pacific, they're still hosting no matter what. And then after that, it will be moving on to the semifinals, the quarterfinals, or the semifinals and the finals in the West, it will be whoever has the most points will host the match no matter what seed you were. So overall, can't complain about it. Uh, it's nothing groundbreaking. It's not insane how they're doing it, but it makes sense for the division lineup that they have, and it's to me it's exciting that we want to be the first place team. We could be facing a team like Sacramento or Los Dos or somebody like that in the first round, um, and not have to face somebody that we've played 4 times already in Phoenix, or not Phoenix, sorry, El Paso or San Antonio or something like that. So I'm happy with it. I think it's a good format for this year. And the only thing I would change is I would maybe do a 4-5 play-in game just for fun.
Earl, are you on board with this playoff format? Do you think any changes should have been made, or are you pretty happy with it?
I mean, I'm pretty happy with it. I have no complaints, but I guess my biggest question is, it's April 20th. How are we talking about playoffs already?
Well, they announced the format, Earl. You gotta look and see what we're playing to, what we're gonna try to get to, and I'm happy that we're trying to get to face the worst team in the Pacific instead of the worst team in our own, and have to face a Colorado Springs or an Austin or something like that for a 4th or 5th time. So I'm good with it.
Yeah, I'm good with it. Don't get me wrong. I am okay with it. I obviously we want to play. We want to win our division, but it's a little interesting with like the second and third round into it, the semifinal and the actual final and conference final, being that they're going off points. So essentially, you can have an unsportsmanlike game, if you want to call it, where New Mexico United scores 20 goals on El Paso or 40 goals on Phoenix. There's a lot of wishful thinking going on there. But essentially, you could have one of those matches where one club just keeps scoring and scoring and scoring in order to better their spot if they were to make it past the first round.
No, not goals, points, and in the table. So a win gets you 3 points, a draw gets you
Never
1
mind.
point.
Okay. All right.
I was like, where are you going with this 20 goals against El Paso thing?
I misunderstood. My apologies.
We'll just cut that part out, Earl. We'll cut that part out. Don't worry about it.
Once again, there's the door. I'll see myself to it.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. A little bit different than what we saw before. I know we're going to start getting into our previews here pretty soon. Jacob's working on something to get out to you guys written here pretty soon. Just glancing at the divisions, between the Mountain and the Pacific, where do we want to finish top of the Mountain, or do we want to finish maybe 2, 3? I know we definitely don't want to finish 4, because my guess is we'll probably see like Phoenix or someone up there number 1 and out in the Pacific. You definitely don't want that matchup to start off your playoff run. But are we thinking 1, 2, 3, or are you thinking maybe like 2, 3 and maybe avoid some of the more dangerous teams?
I think you not only do you have to aspire to be number 1 just because, and you want to be the best club in the thing. I look at 3 clubs out in the Pacific that I don't want to face if I don't have to, and that's Phoenix, Orange County, and San Diego. I think San Diego is going to be really good. I think Orange County can be on our level, or not on our level. Sorry, I think Orange County can be El Paso's level, San Antonio level. So a good squad, not necessarily a super scary squad, but a good squad. And then, so I think that fourth place team, whether it's Oakland, whether it's Los Dos, whether it's Sacramento, I don't think it'll be Tacoma, and I don't think it'll be Las Vegas. But you know, that matchup I think would be extremely easy compared to the other three clubs that I don't want to face. And it could shake out differently, but at this point in time, that's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, sounds good to me. You definitely want to. I don't think clubs, ever try to game the system, so to speak. But they may look at it later on and say, okay, maybe we go play for the draw in this one, just to try to play with the points a little bit. I don't think there would be like anything like match fixing or anything like that, but it'll be interesting to see how much those potential matchups play into match planning and game planning later on in the season. But it's always going to be fun. It's going to be interesting to see how the playoffs turn out. And I mean, like Earl said, it's April. We haven't even started the regular season. We're already talking about the playoffs. And the USL Championship has some great previews out on the website right now. They're doing them divisions at a time. They have previews out for the Eastern Conference, Atlantic Division, and the Eastern Conference. What do they call the other one? Sorry, my page is not Central Division. So they have those out there. You can go. You have to click on the individual club names in there to find out where they are projected to finish. Atlanta United 2, I already know, is projected to finish 8th in their division. No surprise there. But yeah, it's going to be interesting. Go check those out. Top 5 forwards article is out as well. Solomon Asante is mentioned, unfortunately.
Which I don't agree with. I was actually just looking at that one. I don't agree with that one at all. I mean, you have stars like Ilya Illich, Devin Sandoval, Amanda Moreno, not on that list. But yet you have Jerome Kiesewater out of FC Tulsa.
Yeah, he's on there. Adam John is on there, who I didn't realize this. He signed with Orange County. So that's going to be an interesting player. We've obviously played against him in the past. Be interesting to see him again out there in Orange County along with Bees. So can't wait to see that. Also came out this week, Oakland Roots has a new investor. I don't know if you guys caught this or not, but Beast Mode, Marshawn Lynch.
Beast Mode!
Marshawn Lynch has become a investor in Oakland Roots, which I think is fantastic. And I think I watched the interview he did with Taylor Twellman, and it's incredible, reading his story here, reading about his involvement with Oakland Roots. And I believe they also brought in a new sponsor at the same time, and that was part of his agreement as far as coming on board, was to have a new sponsor come in. So yeah, I mean, Skittles. I mean, how big is it for the league when you have well-known sports personalities such as Marshawn Lynch taking an interest and investing in local soccer clubs?
I think it's huge. The fact that at the time, one of the biggest names in the NFL is investing in a lower league per se. I mean, I would honestly put USL above MLS, but for Beast Mode to be investing into a lower league says a lot. And not even that, investing into a brand new team says even more, that he has faith in what the USL can do with new clubs, and he wants to be a part of it. So I'm 100% big names investing in smaller clubs, and I want to say, if a Skittles colored Oakland Roots kit were to come out, Mom, I'm gonna need another sponsorship.
Marshawn Lynch, of course, is not the only investor in USL. We know that Russell Wilson has also invested in Portland. So Jacob, I mean, Earl just gave us his point of view. I mean, from your perspective, we're seeing more and more folks, Russell Wilson, Ciara, Marshawn Lynch, Matthew McConaughey. If you look at it, it's LAFC, or you have
Will Ferrell.
Will Ferrell. Guys like that, all investing in these clubs. Do, do you think that these personalities investing in them actually brings more awareness, or is it more? Do you think they're coming from a legitimate like love of the sport, or is it just a publicity thing?
No, I think it's. You mentioned the interview Marshawn did. It doesn't sound like a publicity stunt on his part. That's for sure. McConaughey with Austin, who knows? I don't know. McConaughey is kind of a strange duck, but
So on that one, Jacob, don't lose your thought. With Matthew McConaughey investing in Austin, I feel like that's legitimate because he is also a alumni for Texas University of Texas in Austin.
yeah, and he supports the Longhorn sports programs very very much so. So yeah, I agree. I don't think any of these are publicity stunts. For the longest time, I didn't even know Wilson and Sierra owned any of the Sounders up there. So um, you can't call it a publicity stunt if it's not in the public eye. I think it's just wanting to be a part of something cool. And you look at what the Oakland Roots movement has been since when they were in a smaller league, and you look at the movement that's gotten behind Austin. You look at LAFC and their giant fan section over there. Like it's all leading towards soccer being a bigger deal in America, and I think people are kind of realizing that and wanting to be a part of it. And so there you see these bigger names buying into soccer clubs all over the country.
Kind of a tangential question here. Do you think this level of interest from folks who are in the public eye, from celebrity, do you think that puts pressure on USSF to look more at pro rel, or do you think that these investors are okay with the system the way it is?
Well, I think that depends on who you're asking. If you're asking somebody that's an MLS part owner, they're not going to want pro rel. They don't want their team to drop down to a lower league. If you're asking like Marshawn Lynch, he'd probably be all for it for a little while, with the chance to move up. But I think Oakland probably has a chance to move up anyways, if they can find the money. So it pro rel with the MLS being involved, I think is very very unlikely for the foreseeable future, and by foreseeable future I mean 50 years. Like I don't see the MLS ever getting into a pro rel situation, but I could see a USL League One, USL League Two type situation where there's pro rel if USL gets big enough, and it might. So I don't think it puts any pressure on anybody to do anything because the money is already there.
No, I agree with you. So it doesn't put pressure on the USSFF, whatever the hell they're called, or the USL board members, committee decision makers, um, because it's not really pressure on them. With Marshawn obviously buying some of Oakland, and Matthew McConaughey being part of Austin, and Russell Wilson being part of Portland, um, that all that shows is that there's a vested interest in the sport, and not even the sport. It's a vested interest in their community. Obviously, Marshawn Lynch is huge in Oakland. He was huge in Seattle with the kids. So it's good because it'll help their when they decide to make an academy league and they decide to make their academy. It's good because Marshawn has a huge heart for the youth out there. Um, so I don't think it puts any pressure to develop any pro rel anything. It just actually doesn't put pressure on anything because it's just average people wanting to have a vested say in what's going on.
Yeah, all great points there from both of you, and yeah, I have to agree. I think for the most part, we're not seeing these celebrities come in. We're not seeing these investors come in and do it for the publicity. You look at guys like, like you mentioned, like we talked about Matthew McConaughey. We talked about Marshawn Lynch, and they genuinely seem to have a love of it, and I think that's fantastic, especially with mentioned the outreach that the Roots do, and they have a new program out there. Again, it was part of Marshawn's reasoning for coming in, called Goal Setter, to help underprivileged youth learn financial skills and other things. And I think him and his foundations and the charity work that he does, and getting involved at a more local level, is just gonna drive more awareness to what he's trying to do. Number one, but I don't think it's done for the publicity. I think it's done for the pure love, like you said, of the community, of the kids, and being involved and help bringing awareness to different things. I gotta ask one question for you guys. Are you ready to talk United?
Duh. Do you not see everything around me, everything on me?
I'm just making sure. We've
Shut
been out this for a little while, so make sure you guys are still ready for it.
So I need to make an amendment on one of my comments that I said over the weekend. So Jacob sent us a picture of him wearing a kit on Sunday, driving home. I'm assuming he was driving back to Fort Nowhere, where he's probably the only United fan out there, minus his family. He says no, but I don't believe that there's anyone else out there. I mean, anyways, I did say that I wished that he stepped on a Lego at 2 a.m. in the morning and no one was around to hear him cry. I need to amend that to I actually pray that he steps on a goat head at 4 in the morning while getting up to drink a glass of milk, and he spills that glass of milk and no one is around to clean up that glass of milk or hear him cry or listen to him bitch and moan.
First of all, I never cry over spilt milk.
But you cry over goat heads.
No, I usually just cuss like a sailor. And second of all, well, there's so many things there. First of all, second of all, what number am I on? I don't know.
I don't think it matters.
I was only on my way home from Albuquerque. I was on my way from Albuquerque to Los Lunas because I rode the motorcycle back there, down over there and back. So I did not take that picture when I was driving home to Fort Sumner because that would have been impossible because I was on a motorcycle with 3 jackets on. Second of all, there is a person that works at the clinic here that splits time between here and Santa Fe and is a United fan. He's got a United sticker on his car, and I talk to him about it all the time. And that's basically all I got
there. So as everyone knows, we are just over 2 weeks away from the opening weekend of the USL Championship season. We know that United will take on RGV, and but in the meantime, there has been action down at Mesa del Sol. Jacob and I were both down there this past weekend. And like I said, Jacob, first of all, it was good to see you in person for the first time in over a year. It's been quite a while. And getting to hang out and watch some football with you and be down there is just a lot of fun. And I think I could speak for both of us when I say that we were both fairly impressed, especially with the academy kids that we got to see while we were out there.
Yeah, I've been impressed. The last 2 matches that we've been able to watch, whether it was me and you in person this last weekend or the week before when you were there and I was watching on YouTube, the team looks fantastic, and just about everybody aside from maybe one person that I don't really want to name because I like him too much, has looked like they're already in mid-season form. So I am really excited about what starting on May 1st is going to happen in the regular season. And the biggest takeaway that I have is we have we have so much depth on the attacking side now, and so many high caliber players that can score and contribute in other ways, whether it's the assist or what I call the hockey assist. Um, there's just so many good things to see. We saw 2 set piece goals um, on Saturday, which is rare for United. So to see these things all kind of coming together and seeing the ball in the back of the net, what is it? 4, 5, 6, 7, 7, 8, 9 times in the last 3 matches. If you include the San Diego one that we couldn't see, and you have 9 goals, and I'm gonna do this off the top of my head, so I might be slightly off, but I know Dev has one of them in San Diego. Amando had one in San Diego. Then you have Amando against Colorado Springs and Amando this last weekend against FC Tucson. Then you have Suggs, Schmidt,
Schwartz and Cello.
two cellos, and a Schwartz. All of those players. Well, you have Dev and Amando from last year, then Suggs and Schmidt from the year before, for all 3 years, and then Cello and Schwartz from this new to this year. And that's with, Illich has an assist in there, Brown has an assist in there, Cello has a couple of assists in there, Schwartz has an assist in there. Like, it's just anybody and everybody is contributing to this offensive output that we've had these last 3 matches, and that is the most exciting thing to me, because that is what we lacked so desperately last year. Despite having Wehan, Adamondo, and Dev, we didn't have that other guy up top. Romeo Parks came in, and everybody thought he could do that. He could be that Kevon replacement, and he just didn't produce. I thought he performed well. He just didn't finish. And then you didn't really have those secondary attacking pieces in the Cellos and the Swartzes. And then another person that I've been incredibly, incredibly impressed with is Brucey. They finally got Brucey back into an attacking role this year, and he looks unstoppable on the wing out there at times. So it just looks like it's all coming together. The defense has been a little spotty. We talked about the goal that they gave up against FC Tucson being the slowest rolling goal I think either of us have seen in a long time. So that was just kind of a fluke play. I think Big Phil got blocked out over there, didn't see it right away, and by the time he saw it, he couldn't quite reach the corner. But I think the defense is going to be stout, just like it was last year. I think so far we've seen a 3-5-2 formation for the most part, which we saw a lot of last year as well, and I think that's contributed to our defensive success quite a bit. And then you've seen it this year contributing to the offensive side of the ball with Suggs and Brucey and Swartz all bombing down the sides. So yeah, I can't wait for the regular season. I got the schedule up behind me here, and I'm gonna keep this up. Just for the record, this isn't in like an office. It's not in a bedroom. This is in my kitchen. I'm in my kitchen. I record the podcast at my dining room table. This is a corner of our kitchen where I have usually the big version of this one hanging up, and I will leave this up as long as my wife lets me. So, and this for sure will stay up somewhere in the living room, dining room area, no matter what. So I'm gonna keep looking at that, keep counting them down. I think I'm gonna have to get me a silver Sharpie, and after every match, write the results next to it. So I couldn't be more fired up to see this club in action for real in a couple weeks.
So,
ladies and gentlemen, you guys heard it first. We have two crowdsourcing that we need. We need one crowdsource for Seth's kit, and we need a second crowdsource for Jacob's silver Sharpie.
Oh, I thought you were going to say a house so that I could have my own podcast room, but I think I can afford the silver Sharpie by myself. Or it just did it again,
Ooh.
Seth.
What happened? Oh, that's weird. All right.
I think I can afford a silver Sharpie by myself. Oh, we weren't recording. I think I can afford a silver Sharpie by myself, guys.
Well, look, I'm trying to go cost efficient and not ask too much of our fans. So, I mean, a house would be nice, but we gotta start small.
Okay. So what you're saying is they get me the silver Sharpie, and then I trade the silver Sharpie for something else that's a little more valuable, and then a little more valuable. Eventually, I get a house.
I mean, you could always try to put a silver Sharpie down as a down payment for a house.
No, that's not how it works. Have you not seen this where they take a silver Sharpie, or they take like a paperclip, and they eventually keep trading it and trading it and trading it for bigger and better things until they have a car?
Or you just get the house on your own, and when you go to sign the closing papers, you use that silver Sharpie.
Ooh, okay, fair. Anyways,
Just make sure you don't end up with Professor Copperfield's Miracle Legumes if you're going to be trading up.
I think me and Earl both just right over our heads.
Sorry, it's an Office reference.
Yeah, that's why it went right over my head.
Look, you cannot throw Dwight Schrute at me. You can't throw Bob Vance at me. Shit, you can't even throw Toby Flenderson at me. Especially not this late at night.
Are you making up names? What are you doing?
No, those are all legitimate characters from The Office.
I
There you go. So I want to ask Earl, you weren't able to make it out to the match on Saturday. When you saw that we had beaten FC Tulsa by the final of 3-1, knowing what you know about our club, knowing that FC Tucson is a League One club, did you feel that it was a appropriate result for our team, or would you have expected more against a lower division opponent?
I expected to win. With it being not that close, so obviously 3-1 is not a close game. No, it's about what I expected. I mean, I don't expect like a 5-0 game. I don't expect a 6-0 game. I wish it would happen against like Phoenix and El Paso's. But the fact that it's a preseason game against FC Tucson, who they're Division 1 team, whatever. The fact that we won and we walked out healthy and learning more than what we knew the week before, I'm okay with it.
Yeah, I may or may not have called for a 6-1 win right before kickoff, and I was almost there. It was 3-1. Cello missed an absolute sitter that should have made it 4-1. And then the Academy, it was kind of nice because so they played 90 minutes of United versus FC Tucson. We saw a couple Academy kids come in during that 90 minutes. After that 90 minutes, they played what Peter called a third half, which by math standards doesn't work, but by soccer standards it worked just fine, where they had it was supposed to be our Academy kids versus FC Tucson, which it was, but they left. Kalen was in for that extra 45 minutes. Brucey was in for that extra 45 minutes. Amando was in for that extra 45 minutes, and Sergio Rivas was in for that extra 45 minutes. Oh, and Tenari was in for that extra 45 minutes. And then Tambakis was our goalie for the 45 minutes. So they had 6 of the 11 players were actually first teamers for that extra 45 minutes. So we really got an extra 45 minutes to see New Mexico United. almost. Um, they did give up 2 goals in an extra 45 minutes, but we scored 3 goals in an extra 45 minutes. One of which was by Mondo or Rivas. I think it was Mondo. And then we saw 2 from Christian Nava, who is a academy prospect, and he was all over the place. He played in the second half of the actual match, and was all over the place then. So that kid was everywhere and was fun to watch. So we got to see even more than just 90 minutes of some of these guys, and I really appreciated that. It was fun. We didn't even go to the press conference. They had a press conference with Brian Brown and Schmidt, it looked like. But we just stayed in our little pod because there was live soccer to be watched with. We were facing the same club, so it was the same competition. It's not like we played a bunch of scrubs during that time. And let me tell you, FC Tucson, for being League One, had some tall, beefy dudes out there. They had a couple that towered over Kalen and Schmidt. Like they were up there. So those set piece goals that we talked about, I mean, those, you might look at it and say, oh, those came against a League One opponent. Yes, they did, but they were not short little puny guys. It wasn't a bunch of amateurs out there. They looked professional, and they looked pretty good.
Yeah, on Justin's, he had to really get up to get ahead to his, and it was a fantastic delivery.
He had to come like back towards midfield and get it, and then the New Mexico United just put out a post with the 2 headers, and asked which one was better, and they have good angles of both of them where you can see exactly what happened. What they don't show is on the Schmitty one or the Suggs one in the first half. It was a corner that kind of got recycled and sent back in, and Illich put a beautiful ball in for Suggs, who was just left wide open at the top of the 6 for some reason, and he finished it beautifully. So goals are looking good. The defense is looking good. The academy players are looking good. I couldn't be more excited, guys. As you can tell, I've talked for, I think, 20 minutes of this second hour by myself.
No, that's perfectly fine, And yeah, Jacob, like I said, Jacob and I were both out there. We were talking the entire match, watching these guys, and yeah, the attack looks very good. We have options. We have guys who are bombing forward. Brucey looked fantastic, like you mentioned. And yeah, seeing Brucey in that attacking role, it's definitely something I think he's better suited towards. I think he made better decisions this match than he did the one before, and it showed. But yeah, watching especially in the second half,
I'm gonna make my answer on that post on which one was my favorite.
Okay.
I like the Suggsy one better.
The Suggsy one was nice, man. I think I agree with you there. Go.
So here's the reason why I picked the Suggsy one. And it's not even on the pitch.
His son.
Because the very first person that he meets after he scores that freaking goal is his son.
Yeah. That's how I knew it was Suggs. That's how I knew it was Suggs, because it happened on the opposite side from where me and Seth watched it. And we see the ball go in the back of the net. We can't quite tell who it is. And then I see him running and a little kid running out towards him. And I was like, I know who that is. That's definitely Suggs. But yeah, even if you look at what happened on the pitch, I think the Schmitty one was a well-placed ball by Cello, who I think we're going to see so much better service from corner kicks and free kicks, because Cello just seems to be a maestro at it. I mean, every free kick and corner kick that I've seen him put in has been better than Weehan, who usually took most of our corner kicks last year. And that's nothing against Weehan. It's just Cello seems to be able to pick out a spot the size of a pinhead and put the ball there. And the Schmidt one was a perfect ball. Schmidt had to go back for it, but it kept it away from the defenders so they couldn't clear it. And Schmidt made a nice play on it and put it in the back of the net. But the Suggs one, um, if I remember right, they played it short and then sent it in, and then Illich was able to get to it. And the ball from Illich was one of the best balls that I've ever seen in such short space because he wasn't that far from Suggs in the first place. And it just had the perfect weight to it, the perfect height to it. And Suggs just powered it in. So, and then the third goal, which we haven't even talked about, which might be my favorite goal, was Brucey again, just getting space on his side, beating his man, and then getting to the touchline and being able to cut it back past the keeper and a couple defenders with a beautiful ball to find Mondo just sitting there waiting for it to hit his foot and bounce into the net. I mean, it was just a beautiful, beautiful play all around on that side of the pitch, and those are the ones that are repeatable that we talked about after the Colorado Springs preseason match. You know, the cello goal in that one, kind of a one-off, but everything else in that you could see happening over and over and over again, and that's what these three goals kind of reminded me that where it's not, none of them were flukes, none of them were like superhuman efforts by one player or another. They were just great team goals and very repeatable.
Yeah, I think there were a lot of good takeaways from that match. A lot of good things to look forward to as the preseason ends this following week, and as we get into the season here in just over 2 weeks. So before we do get out of here, we do want to remind everyone that there is one final preseason match that is going to be this Saturday, the 24th, in Phoenix against Phoenix Rising FC. I haven't seen anything as far as whether or not this one is going to be live streamed anywhere. Have you guys seen anything?
I have not yet seen it. I'm hoping that Phoenix wants to show off their new digs, but at the moment, I have not seen any news on if it will be or not.
Okay.
We are going to try to get Earl a press pass to be out there because he will be in Phoenix anyways. So we might be able to have some coverage for you. But next week's episode, I think, will be a pretty long just season and preview episode after I get my rent content out, or at least part of it out. And then we'll have some questions and some answers and some thoughts as far as what we can expect this regular season. Probably a little bit of a playoff preview, not a playoff preview, but a playoff prediction. See who makes it and whatnot. So unless we can get Earl out there to talk about the match and see what he sees, it'll probably be mainly that.
So if this match is live streamed on Saturday, with it being the final match of the preseason, is there anything in particular that you're still wanting to see from the club, or are you okay with what you've seen so far?
I want to see Ryden start. The last two matches that we've watched, anyways, Ryden has come off the bench, and while Ryden's on the bench, we have given up goals. So I want to see him start. I want to see how that defense looks with him and presumably Yearwood and Hamilton back there with him, and see if that shores up that back line a little more than it has against FC Tucson and Colorado Springs.
So I actually like what I've seen so far. I got to watch the first match, which, yeah, kind of rusty first match. But I liked what I saw then. I liked what I saw and I've heard from the past couple weeks. So I'm pretty content with what we have at the moment. With this last match being against Phoenix, I would like a bucket load of goals to go in. I would also like for Solomon Asante to like lose a toenail. Would not be opposed to that.
I'm curious to see. So like you look at football, right? When we have a preseason in the NFL, the fourth match is kind of the fourth game is kind of just we're going to play who's fighting for a spot, and you might see Brady for a series, and that's about it. So I'm kind of curious to see, and especially with this being a club that we're going to play in the regular season, a club that we have had a rivalry with since we came into the league. Is that, are we going to show our full deck? Are we going to show our cards to them in this preseason match, or are we going to play kind of close to the vest, play a little bit of younger guys, play a little bit of people that we can expect to see coming off the bench? I personally would love to see a starting lineup that will resemble our opening day starting lineup, at least for the first half, and then maybe go from there. But and I think we will. I think we'll see Ryden in there to start. I think we'll see Dev and Mondo. I think it'll be very similar to the Colorado Springs match, just with Ryden in there for Schmidt, and see what I want to see how that stacks up against Phoenix before we actually start playing real games.
See, and I'm completely opposite. I would love nothing more but to see Coach Troy do the ultimate flex and start a whole bunch of academy kids.
Yeah,
I would love nothing more than that.
From a hilarity standpoint, I think that would be good. But from a team standpoint and wanting to see what we have, I also don't want them to be rusty going into the RGV match, and I want them to have at least a few minutes of play against Phoenix while getting ready for the next match.
Right. I didn't say I didn't want to see them not play.
Just not start. Okay.
I just want to see a whole bunch of academy kids start, and then Coach Troy start throwing in his weapons like Dev and Mondo and Kalen and Brucey and Suggsy, and then run from whatever comes after that.
All right, I have one final question for you guys before we get out of here for tonight. It is late. How far into the season do you think we get before we see our first truly controversial call of the new season?
19 minutes.
I don't know if we'll see one against RGV. I think, no offense, Ron Patel, but I think we will win that one handily, so there won't be any room for controversy. However, the next week we play in El Paso, and that will be a prime spot for controversy one way or the other. So I think probably that El Paso match, there'll be something there that is less than stellar from the refs.
Oh, you have so much faith in USL refs.
Look, and I don't knock them because it's not easy. We've talked about this on the podcast that it's not easy.
I know it's not easy, but I also have seen USL refs, and I am being very, very modest when I give them 19 minutes.
See, I don't think they're that bad. I think on the grand scheme of things, it is very hard. We've talked about this on here too, that I think it's very hard for one person to referee an entire soccer match from the pitch, and having two guys on each sideline that can only go to half field or midfield. So wherever you're at on the pitch, there's really only two eyes that have good views of most things, and that's very difficult. So for what they're doing, for as much as I want, or as much as it's going to take better refs to make the USL a better league, I can't imagine it's easy to find soccer referees right now that are that high caliber that will do it for whatever their USL pays. So I'm not going to talk crap. There will be calls that I disagree with. There always are. But honestly, last year, there weren't near as many as there were that first year. There weren't near as many. Are you serious? You're going to give us a penalty for that? When the guy flopped? Looking at you, Phoenix. Last year, if we they awarded a penalty to the opposing team, it was pretty much, a penalty. And everybody's going to look at this and say, "Oh, what about the handball on Weehan in the playoff match that won us the game?" And I'm still sitting here going, "Show me a freaking angle that shows he for sure touched the ball with his arm, and I'll cop to it." But there's not an angle, and the ball doesn't change that much, if at all. And you had plenty of chances to make that stop beforehand, and you had plenty of chances to score a goal beforehand. So stop
So
bitching.
$200 to $500 per match.
Yeah, that's not a lot of money, man. I mean, it is, but where are these guys coming from? They're having to travel probably the whole weekend for this match, and they're getting that. How much of that is gas in the first place? So it's still not a great big deal for me. I can't imagine they have high quality referees knocking down their door to ref USL games.
You got to start somewhere, Jacob.
No, thanks.
All right. I think that's going to just about do it for us here tonight. This was, of course, part 2 of our episode number 35. Thank you guys so much for listening. Jacob, get us out of here.
Yeah, it's late, but we had fun. I'm super excited for next week because when we come back next week, there will be no more preseason. There will be no more speculation. We will be talking about, well, there will be speculation, I guess, because we'll be talking about our first match of the regular season. And really, we talk about a bunch of things on this podcast, but the whole reason why we have this podcast is because of United, and it is what I look forward to talking about the most when we hop on here. So next week, expect a lot of that, and then every week after that, we're going to have regular season matches to talk about and break down and look forward to, and it's going to be a lot of United from here on out. So that's going to be right in the wheelhouse of why we're here, as you can see by the flags and schedule up behind me. You got flags behind Earl. Um, I don't know what you have behind Seth because all I see is a green sheet on my end. Um, it
Seth Seth has a full back piece of New Mexico United.
That's true. That's true. It is actually a celebration of the first goal where you have Dev and Santi and several others in a circle. It's right there. In fact,
It's the actual
you can see Dev's dreads coming out of his armpit.
it's the actual image of it too. Like it's the full color.
It's
You
really
see
spectacular.
Jacob over there crying. Like it's pretty crystal clear especially for it being prison work. I'm pretty impressed.
Yeah, yeah. Really, next time you see him, ask him to take his shirt off because you'll be blown away, guys. You'll be blown away.
And not even by the tattoo, by the 6-pack he rocks.
Yeah, yeah. And like I said, dreads coming out of his armpit. Like he dreaded his armpit hair, and Devin's head is right there. It's really it's a 3-dimensional piece that will just blow you away. Anyway, you're gonna be thinking about that all night, Earl, all night.
I'm just wondering how much egg you used to dread your armpit hair.
Quite a bit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's more than you think. That's for sure. But anyways, guys, check us out. All the normal spots, social media everywhere. Somos Mas NM on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We've been more active on the Instagram, or I have, anyways. Earl's always active over there on Facebook. The Twitter is Twitter. I don't understand Twitter as far as using it. I scroll it all the time because that's where I get most of my USL news is from it. But you can still reach out to us on there. You can email all of us individually. You can private message, direct message, whatever you want to call it, all of us on any social media platform. And you know where to find us, man. Next Tuesday, we'll be right here previewing the season, maybe breaking down a little bit of Phoenix if we can watch it some way, shape, or form. And yeah, I can't wait. it's the most exciting time of the year, except for it should have been a month ago that it was the most exciting time of the year. But we'll take the later start. The wait's almost over. We got 10 days, essentially, until we have New Mexico United Soccer. Maybe a little bit more. Maybe it's 12. I don't know. I can't do math at midnight. So, yeah. Until next week, guys. Somos Unidos.
All right, everyone. Thank you guys so much for joining us here on our YouTube channel. Again, my name, of course, is Seth, Jacob, Earl. We are Somos Mas. Thank you guys so much for being here, and we will catch you